Hiya folks, how are you getting along? 6 weeks in, I think we're probably getting into a routine, although maybe hopefully we're getting into an amended routine shortly. Today I want to talk to you about our reading from John chapter 10 verses 1 to 10. And these are Jesus' teaching about models of leadership, and he's talking particularly about models of leadership in the spiritual realm, but it applies equally, and in fact maybe it's more obvious, as models of leadership in the secular realm. So I'm going to open with our reading from the Gospel of John chapter 10, a reading from verses 1 through to 10. If you have a Bible beside you, maybe you could follow it with me. Very truly I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep and leads them out. When he has brought out all of his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again Jesus said to them, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved, and will come and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and to kill and to destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. This is the word of the Lord. So today we're looking at pictures of leadership. And it struck me as I was reflecting on this and watching examples of leadership that we see every day on our television screens. And it made me think, what sort of leadership do we really want? Do we want leaders who tell us what we want to know, treat us like children, and say, there, don't worry about it, Daddy knows best, or Mummy knows best, and we'll just do what we do. We tell you what you want to hear, but we'll go do something completely different? Or do we want someone who will say, look guys, this is not as easy as it looks. We have hard decisions to make. Do you want to hear the hard truth? Or do you want me to tell you lies that make you feel more comfortable? And hence, the graphic behind me, if you can see it. Two queues. It reminds me almost of hustlings, dare I say it, at elections. Two tables. One which says lies we want to hear. The other one saying truths we don't want to hear. And as you can see, the table with the biggest queue is the lies we want to hear. So no wonder maybe our politicians and leaders are tempted to tell us things they think we want to hear, rather than being straight with us and telling us what we need to hear. So on that vein, I shall continue. As we all know far too well, we live in very uncertain times. We've gone through 6 weeks of the lockdown, and as I record this on Saturday afternoon, there are more figures to be announced, but it looks like they're going to be in and around 28,000 people have died from COVID-19. And we're only at the beginning of this dreadful, dreadful disease. And of course, we've seen our own Prime Minister come so close to death as new life also came into the world. So we're looking for a leader who will make the bad stuff go away. We want to pretend this isn't really happening, like it's a bad dream. And you know, truthfully, we're all seeking a way out of this COVID-19 nightmare, if only it were just a dream, this world that we now find ourselves in. And secretly, we wish that somehow the clock could be turned back 6 months, like in a science fiction film, and switch to what science fiction buffs would call a different timeline, like stopping the play button on a computer game and starting the scenario all over again but with different assumptions. So we want to live as if we're in a new timeline, the one in which COVID-19 had never existed. And all that we had to be worried about was arguing over something meaningless and relatively safe, like politics. Do you remember the good old days of Brexit? Well, maybe they weren't so great either, but I think maybe you get the picture. 28,000 people didn't die because of Brexit. Not in 6 weeks anyway. And then, and now, we like leaders who keep things simple. 3-word slogans. And just like when we were children at our mother's knee, if we had an accident, we fell over or we grazed our knee, our mothers would comfort us and they would tell us it would all be okay. Maybe a little bit like the advert for soothing cream on the television, where we see pandas doing Tai Chi to nice soothing music in the middle of a pond. All very soothing, but a fantasy. Our mothers would kiss our sore bits, rub them better, give us and carry on as if nothing had ever happened. Really, wouldn't it be lovely if we could have simple answers and solutions to difficult questions and problems? Face it, we all like shortcuts in life. We like the easy way to do things, ways that save times and are much more convenient for us. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried to build a bit of flat pack furniture or something of that ilk, and maybe it's just a man thing, but you sort of want to build it first thinking, I don't need the instructions, I can do it all by myself. But then after many hours of frustration, we'll go back and maybe getting things wrong. We ultimately go back to the instructions and hopefully we haven't cut little bits or broken little bits that we now need to hold the piece of furniture together. I think most of us have been there in one form or another. You see, the hard truth is there's a right way of doing things and there's a wrong way of doing things. And it's the same in all aspects of our life. And regretfully, more often than not, the quick way, the convenient way, is ultimately the wrong way. So I'd like to ask you a question at this point. What sort of advice do you like to get from your friends and family when you find yourself in a bit of a sticky situation, when you've got a pretty serious problem on your hands? And as I said before, many of us are like the cartoon, as I say behind us, I referred to at the beginning of this reflection. We would prefer to listen to nice, friendly, fluffy, non-threatening, false information that makes us feel good. Lies we want to hear, rather than maybe the more challenging, harder to accept, correct advice, the truth we don't want to hear. Because the truth will more than likely take us on a much more difficult path in life through that problem, even if we know in the long run we will arrive at a much better place. And just as in the political world, there are leaders in the spiritual world who would act as if they were offering their followers an easy road to self-fulfillment or to salvation. But if you notice, most of the time, the route to this place of arrival usually travels through your bank account in one way or another. Alternatively, the true shepherd gives himself fully to the flock. Sacrificial service, like our care and health workers. Each one being known individually, and they trust their leader. Now in the Bible, the image of a shepherd with his sheep is frequently used to refer to the king and his people. And in our modern world, we don't think of rulers and leaders in quite the same way. Certainly not as, to look after us properly. We tend to think of chief executive officers running multinational corporations, banking groups, airlines, etc., etc., etc. We think of people sitting behind desks or behind lecterns, dictating letters, issuing decrees, chairing meetings, and being completely inaccessible. And often these people are isolated from those who work for them, maybe apart from a small cohort around the board table. and they seldom see the faces and are unlikely to know those who actually work for them. However, in the Bible we see a very different image. We see the image of a shepherd, like King David, a man after God's own heart. And he knew each one of his sheep personally. And it is this image that Jesus uses to explain his claim to be the true King of Israel. Now note that in the passage I just read to you, verses 1 to 10, and please do check it back in your Bibles, he doesn't refer to himself as the Good Shepherd. Well, not at that point. He doesn't mention that phrase until verse 11, which is just beyond the end of our reading today. Rather, in the first 5 verses, he talks in more abstract terms about the differences between the true shepherd relative to the false shepherd. The true leader who's doing it for all the right reasons, and the false leader doing it for all the wrong reasons. So who are these false shepherds? These peoples named as thieves and brigands? These strangers? Well, in the context of the reading, they were almost certainly the various leaders who had emerged during Jesus' lifetime. Some are those who today we might call revolutionaries, others might call them freedom fighters, warlords eager to lead Israel into conflict with the imperial occupying power. Others, particularly Herod's family, those in the local government, were eager to, for want of a better word, collaborate, work with Rome, the imperial power, and in this way retaining their own power, influence and wealth within the community. You see, they would suit what's best for them. And in the midst of all of this, Jesus poses the question, how will you know God's true appointed king when he comes? How can you tell the difference? Well, the answer is that you can tell the true king in the same way you can tell who's the true shepherd. Now let's be honest, anyone could turn up and could have turned up in Jerusalem and claimed to be a leader. We see people claiming to be leaders every day of the week. But it's only the one who's appointed by God who has the right to be the true and only leader. Anyone can call followers to their cause, whatever that might be. But the sign of a real leader, a real king, is the response that comes from their hearts when people hear their voice. And their leader and their followers, do they love and trust? Does he love and trust them or she? And enough to make people want to follow them? Do they feel that the leader's in it for the people, or is the leader just in it for the leader? Now the parable we see in the first 5 verses seem to say, this is what I am doing, and this is what substantiates my claim to be sent by God to be Israel's true king. He gives all the reasons why. He then says the fact that people are hearing me and following me, and particularly there's the image of the man born blind who follows Jesus. The image of blindness and sight, not so being so much physical blindness and sight, but spiritual blindness and sight. And the fact that that man has gone from blindness to sight proves that God had sent him. However, faced as he was then subsequently with blank stares from his audience, Jesus continues with further explanations. In verses 7 to 10, he highlights another part of the shepherd's role. He is the gate or the door. Now, in contemporary sheepfolds, the shepherd lies down at night at the entrance or the gateway. If we could imagine maybe a stone enclosure with a small gap that the sheep would come in and out. And the shepherd would lie in that gap to block it, to stop the sheep getting out, or to stop any predators getting in. Now here Jesus seems to indicate the way in which a true shepherd, a true caring leader, keeps his sheep safe. And just like God in Psalm 121 verse 8, he watches over their going out and their coming in. You see, The emphasis, the focus is on the safety and fulfilled lives of the sheep. Because the bottom line is, the shepherd has no business looking after his own welfare, what's best for the leader. No, a true leader focuses on what is best for his sheep, for those who follow him. Find a leader or a king like that, and you find God's anointed leader. And the promise of life to its full, to life overflowing in such richness and vitality, is particularly poignant in these challenging, locked up days of the unseen COVID-19 danger. And it is highlighted just how worthless and empty and hollow what until recently we considered as the trappings of success and characteristics of successful people are, just how hollow those are now ringing. Now we finally acknowledge the people of true worth, the true successful people, the doctors, the nurses, the carers, the key workers, the ones who were previously, or most of them, at the bottom of the pile. And these people put themselves in harm's way to serve and to protect the rest of us, frequently putting themselves in harm's way, and as we know too well, with insufficient PPE. And conversely, we see the business magnates, the controllers of large organisations, large airlines, large engineering firms, and the likes, to spare as they see their principalities crumbling down around them, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. There is an image of the true role reversal of the kingdom of God. So often I've said to you that God values what is seen weak in human eyes, and what is strong in the world's eyes are weak in God's eyes. And we're seeing that playing out in front of us at the moment. Of course we need to have a strong economy, but we're seeing where true strength lies, and we're seeing where strength is hidden by weakness. And of course, how could we miss the iconic image of the new hero of our day? Is he a strong, vibrant, charismatic, fit, healthy young person? Is it a wealthy individual? Is it somebody who is claiming power and authority in the world? No. No, the new hero of our time is a 100-year-old war veteran who's just had a hip replacement. But this man, a quiet man who loved his family, with his walking frame, trying to do a little bit of rehab, a little bit of physio, thought, well, if I walk up and down my garden a few times, I get sponsored by my family and we'll raise a wee bit of money for the health service. So that unknown war hero from, let's be fair, a conflict in Burma that wasn't even well recognised back in the day, let alone now, we all know so well. He's raised approximately £31 million. 31 million, one person. That's more than that Live Aid event on the TV last week with all those famous faces. Here's an unknown face. He raised £31 million for the NHS charities, and he's now world famous. The former captain, now Colonel Tom. So, I draw my thoughts to a conclusion. When it comes to leadership, many thieves have told lies. They have deceived the sheep, stolen their dreams, and left them dead on the road. We've seen it all the time. The call today to Jesus' true sheep at the end of this diocesan week of prayer is to continue to seek and to listen for his still small voice, and to find in him alone the life which is overflowing with milk and honey, with real goodness, real riches, where moth and dust and COVID-19 does not corrupt. I hope you've been able to encounter the Lord this week in some manner or form during this week of prayer. And don't just stop now. Keep going, keep revisiting that, even just on an occasional basis. But I want to close in the words of one of the readings we had for Friday, and it's from Psalm 119 verses 1 to 8. And I suggest this could be the prayer for all of us as we humbly seek the less easy, the less comfortable, but the correct road into the future. Blessed are those whose ways are blameless, who walk according to the law of the Lord. Blessed are those who keep his statutes and seek him with all their heart. They do no wrong, but follow his ways. You have laid down precepts that are to be fully obeyed. Oh, that my ways were steadfast in obeying your decrees. Then I would not be put to shame when I consider all your commands. I will praise you with an upright heart as I learn your righteous laws. I will obey your decrees. Do not utterly forsake me. Amen. Friends, keep the faith. And even if it seems the more difficult path, seek to follow it. And particularly when it comes to social distancing, keep staying at home. The roads are getting busier for no apparent reason. Protect not just yourself. It's not about you. It's about everybody else. Protect your neighbours. Protect your family. Protect those around you who are vulnerable. Stay at home. Only go out when you absolutely have to. And seek God's guidance as we work our way through these difficult times of COVID-19. But I encourage you not to seek the easy way out, but to seek the right way out. Even if they are lies, or even if we prefer to believe the lies that some tell us to make it easy, let us seek the truth that's less comfortable to bear. God bless you all, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.